I initially wanted to run for president in Africa, where in Gabon, where I'm originally from, in order to root out corruption. As you know, corruption is rampant in Africa. But since my wife is originally from the Isle of Man, and my son was born here, so I have decided to run for Teen World instead. So a little bit about my background. But unfortunately, I lost my wife just prior to the COVID pandemic coming to hit us here, come to the front. But I still kept my promise of running for office, and that is the opportunity I'm taking right now. My background is in education, and I'm bringing into Monk's political landscape a new approach.
You wanted to run for president in Gabon.
Yes.
How long did you harbour that ambition?
I remember at university, it was in Liverpool. A few years ago, I met a French lecturer from France, and we had discussions like a round table within at the amphitheater of the university. And as we were discussing, it was a heated debate. And I think one of the teachers said to me, I think you are a politician, because I was so passionate about the topics and the issues surrounding, I think, Princess Diana and the like. So I always have that ambition of helping people, because I'm about the people and I want to be known as the people's MHK.
What about Manx politics then? Because you told Manx Radio your three priorities, if elected, would be education, which your background is in, building a commuter railway system, and demanding reparation on behalf of Manx people from China for the COVID-19 pandemic. Which of those is top of the list?
I would say that normally I have expanded and even modified and amended some of those items, because I was going down in campaign trail. I have found that there are more real issues that I need to have and to record and to run with. So
they've changed?
Yeah, changed a little bit and just modify, amended. But
So if I ask you now, what are your three priorities if you were elected on the 23rd of September? What would they be?
Brilliant. So that, I shall say that, first of all, I would like to stop the government from wasting taxpayers' money, number one. Number two, I will further develop the Isle of Man University College as an institution, so as to keep our own students on the island and also attract more students from elsewhere. And number three, obviously relating to coronavirus, I will support an inquiry to assess the impact of the coronavirus on Manx people and the Isle of Man, so as to find to find a protocol that will best help us withstand any such pandemic in the future. Voila.
Let's start then with that first one. Stop government wasting taxpayers' money. Now, we've heard that phrase used a lot of times before in a number of previous elections. How would you go about that?
Well, I will go about it by way of legislation and voting. I will not support any agenda items that is going against the will of the people, because the bottom line is I will always support the people. I will inquire and see if my constituency are willing to accept such a proposal or bill before I even attempt to vote on any vote.
Where is the government waste at the moment, though, that you see? When you look at Tynwald, when you look at what the government has done over the previous term, where do you identify that waste to be?
I can actually identify that waste, for example, on the promenade. That had been cited many times on my campaign when I was going to visit some constituents, and we discussed those issues. For example, on the promenade, I believe that it could have been, I think the expense was too much high. Even it could have maybe cost half of the amount that then in the end the project cost. So it's important that we are accountable to the way we spend the money the taxpayers are giving us.
Do you think that's for all big capital projects that are undertaken, that they need to really identify where they can cut waste out?
Yes, I think any project that that have to be undertaken has to be looked at very, very deeply by the constituents. We have to consult with them and have a feel of where we want to go. And it's important that we cut the waste of that money for the government to function properly.
Further developing University College Isle of Man so that you can keep students here and maybe attract them from elsewhere in the world. Is that a major thing that has come up on the doorstep when you've been out canvassing then? People are worried that young people don't want to stay here.
Exactly, yeah. There are other opportunities elsewhere in the UK, and they've got maybe more salary there to get. I think one of the point was during the campaign trail is that we should create an environment here that is welcoming to those students for them to come back to the island. For instance, we can maybe have a housing scheme that will help them to settle. That will really attract them instead of spending much time trying to find a house and then going about to maybe to teach and doing any other activity they have in mind doing. So it's important that we have those schemes in place in government. So I will push for this those things to be done in Tynwald if elected.
But housing and education, whilst you can link them, they're not intrinsically linked. But so housing is a different issue.
That's right.
But how would you develop the University College Isle of Man?
The university will be developed by way of maybe looking at the departments here that we offer. I can maybe push for more accreditations of departments like the business and law that will help the industry here, and also some firms that they want to hire people upon finishing their studies. So that is the way I will be going about it.
And with your background in education, do you feel that would be a realistic achievement if you were elected for the next 5-year term?
Yeah, exactly. Within the tenure, within 5 years, I think it's fair to say that I will be able to push hard from the beginning of the tenure until the end, that those projects are at least started and then moving towards the finish line.
An interesting thing you mentioned there, and we did touch upon it just before, is housing on the Isle of Man. It's been a big issue in several constituencies on the doorstep, I understand. Is that the same in Ayre and Michael? And what are people saying about housing on the Isle of Man and affordable housing and getting young people onto the housing ladder?
Yeah, the feedback I got from the campaign is that a lot of young people are staying within their home with their parents. So they want to have some breathing space while allowing the sibling, the children, nephew and so forth, to have some space as well, because they want to develop their families, to have their families, children and so forth. So for both parties, it's beneficial to them. So it's important. And they mentioned the fact that the government must encourage housing stock in Ayre and Michael. For instance, maybe 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom flat apartments that the government should build in order to help young people to have an apartment of their own and maybe step into the property ladder.
So would that be your policy, build, build, build?
Yeah, it's very important, and I will push the government to do so. Our young people are our priority, they are our future, and we should really invest in them.
And people living in Ayre and Michael as well, and young people you mentioned there, if they do get jobs, I understand you're very keen to improve travel links on the island. That's with a commuter railway system and also increasing the air links to and from the island.
That's right.
Let's deal with the commuter railway system first off. Take us through your idea.
Yeah, I want to build normally in the island, because we know during the TT it's a very busy period for the island, and commuting is a very difficult things to do. First of all, I would like to have more access roads. We have a few. We have one in Kirkmire and Grenwilling, and I want to expand that, and in consultation with our constituents, try to find the best way to have an access route from there, because I remember we with my wife going through that little hill was very exhausting to reach the top. And I want for everybody to have this access when they come to going to Douglas and back, coming back home. So it's another point that I want to focus on. And also, I want to build what I call an integrated transportation system that will take into account road users. That means the cars and so on. Also, the bus, those who use the bus, and also maybe the train, because remember the train used to be used even up to Kirkmichael near the fire station. So they told me that's very difficult to revive that, but I will study. I want to study and have a look at it and see the feasibility of such a project before embarking on it.
So in your eyes, is travel on the Isle of Man at the moment inherently poor?
At the moment, it's fair to say not really poor, but there's more to do. For instance, at Ronaldo Airport, I want to increase the flight route to and from the Isle of Man so as to go, because a lot of people of the Isle of Man want to go to maybe other destinations other than the UK, and we can expand that. And also we'll study the fact that whether or not it's possible to enlarge, to build a bigger runway for other carrier to be able to land here and depart from here to other destinations as well in the world. For example, Malta or the hot destination like Spain. And it's important that we study the feasibility of this project. But I will push for any opportunity. I will be listening to the constituents and taking on board the solutions.
We'll come to Airlinks in just a moment, but improving connectivity around the island with access roads, improved bus service, and a railway system that you'd like to see introduced, all of that will cost money. You say you want to look into it. How much homework have you done at the moment? How much would that cost?
At the moment, I don't have the figures, but in consultation with the expert, and I'll do my own research because I also have a background in research. I will do a study of feasibility in order to find out exactly what that will cost. But normally, the way I go about the project is I have a plan A and a plan B. So if the plan A is very difficult to enact, I will use a plan B. That means that at a lower cost, but still, I will strive to make sure that the Isle of Man residents are served transport-wise.
Improve the airlinks as well. It's easy to say that you want more. How are you going to achieve that, though?
By contacting, there's a lot of carriers around. We're using, for example, EasyJet at the moment, but we had other carriers before, and I will contact them across the globe, across the UK, in Europe, and see how it's important and how they will be able to come here. But cost effectively, there will also be a study on that, and that will push for travel links to be explored and really done on the island.
Would it be cost effective though? Because surely with airlines being one of the biggest hit industries in the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic, they might not think that a route to and from the Isle of Man is financially viable. Yeah,
it may not be viable for now, but doesn't mean that we have to leave the project aside. We still have to start to think about those things because it comes to the well-being of the Isle of Man residents. So we will look at it and then find a way to go about it, because we know we've been hard hit by the economic crisis of 2008 and now with the pandemic. So financially, the Isle of Man want to be stable and then restart again, building a very good and prosperous economy. So we will focus on that while at the same time looking at other opportunities and other things that can be done to serve the Isle of Man population in the whole overall.
We have to go back to what you told Manx Radio when you first declared about demanding reparations from China for the COVID-19 pandemic. Surely that A was highly unrealistic, but it also doesn't scream that you'd be the most diplomatic and want to cooperate with other governments around the world.
I think it's on a personal level, it's important because I've seen the devastation that the coronavirus pandemic has brought to the Isle of Man and Manx population. It's incredible. So we don't want to have a pandemic of the sort in the future because we don't even know at the moment that China is continuing to do those research in the Wuhan Virology Center. So it's important that we come to the bottom of the pandemic and to know exactly how it originated. That's on a personal level. But I think that for the sake of my campaign, I will certainly focus on supporting an inquiry within the Isle of Man to better understand how to deal with it.
How do you think the government did deal with the pandemic then?
I personally think that they did a very good job to keep this pandemic at bay. Obviously, it's very difficult, and it's the first time we had we were very hard hit by such a pandemic. But I think I will raise my hat and say to the government that well done, very good job on my part.
All but two of the candidates standing in Ayre and Michael have said that climate change is a priority. Do you not believe that to be true?
It's an important topic. I certainly share the point of view that the environment is a topic of the day, judging by what's happening here on the Isle of Man, around our coast, and also in the world. But I will look at two items here. Let me look at air pollution with the increasing number of cars on our roads. So we want to reduce our carbon print here on the Isle of Man. So that is important. That's why I'm speaking about an integrated transportation system here, so that we use less and less cars, and then we use also other means of transportation like the buses and the train if it's feasible to do so here. And also water, looking at the water item, I will say that the water pollution is also a big factor. I remember while working at the income tax division, we had as a team a project of going down to the seashore and cleaning up any plastic bottle, any plastic-related material, so that we participate in those schemes to protect the environment. Even Tesco, to my knowledge, embarked on such a project as well. And in order to give, maybe I think it costed 5 pence per bag at that time. But my concern now is that it could be a tax now for the people of the Isle of Man. I came back to the island and I just found out it's 20p.
Sorry, what could be a tax on the island?
It could be a tax because those...
what specifically could be a tax?
I mean, it could be a tax. Those items, the plastic-related items like bags that Tesco, for example, wanted us to maybe to pay for 5p for a bag in order to reduce those items in the environment, people throwing them at sea and so forth. So that's a good project, but the task could be that then Tesco or other firms may want to increase the price. Now I see that there is like 20p per bag. So where will it end? Are they going to rob a constituent for more money? If you're not giving the money to the constituent, how can you then demand more and more money every year? So I think we should be careful not to demand too much to our constituents.
We've covered a lot of national issues. What about the issues on a local level?
Yeah, it's a real concern because I remember driving around the route from I think Peel to Kirkmichael and seeing firsthand the erosion of the coast. And I mentioned that to my wife, I recall, and it was approaching. I think every year at least a meter or so is eroded from our land. So it's a real concern, and I understand that the government, I had a read of some of the project, is that they're looking at it because that's the reason why the environment is a very important topic, that we should look at the feasibility of maybe a project, how to stop the erosion, but must not be done, to my view, at the expense of the other needs. So you have to strike a balance when dealing with environmental issues.
Okay, we're running out of time. The last word is yours, though. Why should people vote for you on September the 23rd?
Well, I'm not running as a traditional politician, but one with a new approach. That is, no issue is discarded and no one is left behind. So therefore, I will focus. I will stop the government. Number one, to waste the taxpayers' money, and number two, further develop the Isle of Man University College to keep our students and attract other students from around the world and other parts of the world, the UK, for instance, and also expand. I shall say expand the medical facilities of Peel and Derby, so as to increase the number of GP appointments and finally, I shall say, support an inquiry into the pandemic to better withstand any such pandemic in the future. Voila.